This assignment is for EDN462, Mathematics and Numeracy in the Early Years. This is assignment 3, an audiovisual presentation by Jordan Wright, 33186461 as a student number and my ID card there. Just a couple of notes. I had to change the child I was working with from assignment 2 as I relocated to a remote community in WA. The child I am working with is one of the teacher's children who's in kindy. My camera for my computer broke and the nearest town is 350 kilometers away, so there's just going to be audio for this presentation. And I also currently have the flu and apologize if I sound bad or cough during this presentation. Just a bit of background, I'll be referring to the child I work with as B. B is a boy who is 3 years and 11 months old and is in kindergarten. He is one of the teacher's sons at school that I'm working at. We live in quite a remote community in the Kimberley region of WA. And for this assignment, I was focusing on counting with no previous assignment experience with B, but I have seen him counting in the education setting, and I thought it could be a good practice opportunity for him to further develop. The settings that all of the learning experiences were conducted in were in a classroom. Now, just the curriculum, and first steps. So I found that the key understanding 1 from the first steps in mathematics numbers book, we can count a collection to find out how many are in it. Key understanding 2, we often see how many parts are in a collection just by looking and also thinking of it in parts. These were some of the key understandings that I applied to this tasks that I did. I also did solve small number story problems, which require them to add some, take some away, or combine two amounts by imagining or role-playing in the situation and counting the resulting quantity. And that's from the diagnostic map. I also pulled a couple of the pre-primary curriculum standards, content descriptors, sorry. Even though B is only in kindy, he will be going into pre-primary next year. So I thought this could be some good initial stepping stones in. So I had connect number names, numerals, and quantities, including 0 initially up to 10 and beyond. And establish understanding of the language and processes of counting by naming numbers in sequences, initially to and from 20, moving from any number point. So the first learning experience I did with B was called the learning ladybug flower game. I kind of lured him in by asking him if he wanted to play a game with me, and that's all it took to get him engaged. It involves having 2 people play with a spinner that lands on a number between 1 and 5. You then have to find the matching color to the flower that you've been given and find the correct number of ladybugs on the petal. So he had to count the number of ladybugs and make sure he got the right one out of the pile. So I also explicitly stated that when he's counting the ladybugs, he had to make sure to say the number out loud and have his finger over each ladybug as he counted. B really enjoyed this game, he told me numerous times. He was counting the ladybugs with his finger one at a time, ensuring that he didn't make any mistakes. I constantly asked and prompted him how many ladybugs were on this petal, or how many ladybugs are on that one, or maybe this one, when it took him a while to find the correct leaf, because there were so many at the start. For the petals with 1 or 2 ladybugs, I noticed that he just sabotaged and he didn't need to count them because he just knew there were 1 or 2 there. I did ask him and he just said he knew. So for the second learning experience, it was a game that had B pretend that the counters were animals. I would ask him to name each of the 3 coloured counters we used, white, yellow and green. And he came up with the white counters were sheep, the yellow were chickens, and the green were cows. I don't know why he chose cows, but that's what he did. I told him, similar to the game we played last time, you have to count each of the counters number out loud so that I can hear, and you have to make sure you count them one at a time. I would give him a combination of counters to put in the barn, so he would fill the barn with animals. So for the first one I chose was 3 sheep, 2 chickens, and that was it. He counted them out and he got it correct. I then asked him to grab 2 more sheep and add to the barn. He did that. He added 2 more white counters, and then I asked him how many sheep were in the barn now. He held up 3 fingers and 2 fingers, and he said he originally put 3 in the barn, and he had 2 more, so now he has 5. He got this rather quickly, so I decided to make the numbers a little harder. So the next activity was 5 sheep, 1 chicken, 2 cows. And this time I asked him if he could work out how many animals are altogether in the barn. He ran over and grabbed 2 whiteboard markers, which confused me at first. He handed me one, and then he handed himself one. As he put the 5 white counters out, he put 5 dots on the page. He put 1 yellow in the barn and put 1 more dot, and then he put 2 cows in the barn and put 2 dots. And then he counted up all the dots, and he told me there were 8 animals there in total. And I asked him, why did you put the dots when you count? And he said it's easier for me to count all of the animals together with dots. I did another variation of animals and he did the same thing, but he took my pen, so then when I asked him why he did that, he said he doesn't get confused with the other dots. The last activity we did was called the blind monster. So the idea was to draw eyes for the monster so that he could see, because he was blind at the moment. So there were cards numbered 1 to 10 and they were upside down. So B was instructed to flip a card over and draw that many eyes on the monster, and then to turn another card over and put more eyes on the monster. And as he put the eyes on the monster, he had to count them out one at a time out loud. So when he turned over 7 and drew 7 eyes on the monster, I asked him, how did you know that you've drawn 7 eyes there? And he said the last number I said was 7. So what I did was I rubbed one of the eyes of those 7 that he drew, and I said, how many do you have now? And he thought for a second and he said 6. So I think he does grasp that the last number is the total. Where to from here? I'm pretty confident that B is well and truly ahead compared to his peers. And I think a main reason for that is he has a passion for learning at school and at home. And I'm always seeing him doing activities in his free time. If I were to do more learning experiences with B, I would do counting backwards activities and see if he could do that. I would also do some work on collections, in particular making collections of equal sizes, and I'd possibly start on doing some work with skip counting. Just a bit of a reflection. Overall, my experience with the play-based learning has been a positive one, especially taking into account that I plan to teach in the Kimberley region upon graduating at the end of next year. Seeing the effect that making these educational activities play-based has on the kids up here is pretty amazing. So as an EA in this setting, I'm able to see a range of different environments, and I can also see what does and doesn't work. And generally, play-based activities have a much higher participation, as well as probably being more important, it's easy to get the students to actually complete the work. Because for them, tasks that they deem boring, or even if they just consider it as work, the kids literally just walk out of the room. So I will be endeavouring to make my mathematical lessons and all lessons play-based in the future. Thank you for listening.